Felicia Izerbigi. So, Ms. Izerbigi, I am Administrative Judge Martha Russo, and I have been assigned to adjudicate this appeal. You have been asked to provide testimony in the matter of Sylviane Kouemo versus the Small Business Administration. While you're testifying here this afternoon, if an objection is raised to a question that you are asked, please don't start your response until I rule on the objection, and I will tell you whether or not to continue with an answer. In addition, please answer all the questions orally and be sure to keep your voice raised so that we can all hear your testimony and we can accurately capture it for the record. I do need to swear you in before you testify, so if you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You may lower your hand. All right, Ms. Izerbigi, would you please state and spell your first and last names?
Okay. My name is Felicia Izerbigi. F-E-L-I-C-I-A. The last name is spelled I for Isaac, Z, zebra, E, Edward, V for Victor, B, boy, I, Isaac, G, go, I, Isaac, E, Edward.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you currently employed by the Small Business Administration?
Yes.
In what position?
In human resources, returning annuitant, so it's a temporary position.
And what was your title again in the temporary position?
Human resource specialist.
And how long have you been serving in that position?
I just came back October of 2021. I worked for the Small Business Administration from 2013 and retired April 2021.
So prior to your retirement in April, what was your position then?
I was also a human resource specialist.
So were you an HR specialist from 2013 through April 2021?
Yes, I was.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Kouemo.
Thank you, Judge. Hello, Mrs. Izerbigi. I'm sorry, am I saying, I think I messed up. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Izerbigi. I'm going to go ahead and just ask you straight up. What is the process? I'm sorry, but can you please define what your role as a human resources, basically, what is the difference between the duties of the human resources department compared to the personnel department? I'm having a little bit of an issue understanding what the difference is.
Okay. The human resources is, I don't know if I can differentiate it for you, but I can tell you what I do. I'm the human resource, as a human resource specialist, employee relations, performance management. I work with managers, advising them on action about employee issues. The personnel department does a little bit more. They are responsible for like the hiring, all the stuff, but I couldn't give you details of what they do.
Okay, so the personnel department does hiring and everything and some other things, but you're not very familiar with what they do. Can you speak as to what they do as far as hiring and the other duties?
No, I can't, because I don't do any of that positions at all. I'm strictly relations, performance management, and some training.
Okay. in your role as an HR specialist and in employment relations, do you handle things like AWOL determinations? Do you review those at all? Things like that. Like when I say AWOL, yes, I mean, you know what AWOL, like,
yes.
I know I have
absence without leave.
It's
Yes, so I can understand you clearly. Absence without leave, and yes, I would review those and give advisements to the managers. If they have employee issues, yes, they will call me and they would talk to me about the issues they have and seek advisements, and that's what I do. I give them advisements. The decisions they make are the manager's decisions.
Thank you. And would you also consult with, or would management also consult with you as far as the things like team assignments at all, or is that outside of your?
That has nothing to do with me at all. Team assignments are strictly managers. If it's not an action against an employee, or they are thinking of holding an employee accountable for something, I have nothing at all to do with it.
Okay. And do you, you already say that hiring falls under the view of the personnel department, so you as a human resource specialist don't have anything at all to do with hiring, but you do have, I believe that's correct, right?
I think
you don't have anything to do with, yes, do you have anything at all to do with hiring?
The hiring is for the Office of Personnel. They do all the reviews. You have to be trained to do that, and ERO is not part of that process.
Okay. But will things like firing somebody be part of the HR office?
Firing, yes. If it will be part of the employee relations office, yes.
Okay. So I am going to ask you if we can please go to document tab number 37.
Yeah. You said tab 37?
Yes.
I have to pull up the document. For another one. 37. Okay.
And we can go to page 25, which you have.
Kind of rolling up page 25.
Please let me know when you're there.
Page, I'm trying to find the page 25. I saw it 23. Okay, I think I went past 25. I know what I have is, I see 21 or 21, and I'm looking for the 25 37. Was it 37?
Yes, it's the document is number 37, and then the page number is we can start at 25, but we're going to go down.
The document is 37, and then the page numbers are in the bottom right-hand corner of every page in really tiny print. And so they're in the format like page 24 of 58, page 25 of 58.
Okay.
And you're looking for page 25 of 58.
Yeah, 37. Okay, I'm saying 18 or 58. Okay, 19. All right, I'm 25.
Thank you. And if you scroll down, I just wanted to maybe try and refresh your memory. If you scroll down all the way, I mean, you can take your time and scroll down to a few pages. I just want to refresh your memory as to the conversation that you had with some of my managers. And
Okay, is there a particular page?
No. I just want to just make sure that you know what the context of what we're going to be talking about, and then I'm going to point out to specific pages as suggestions. Okay. So, for instance, first of all, I would like to ask you, when was the first time that you heard that anybody in management contacted you about me specifically?
I really can't remember because that was this was in 2020, and I deal with not just PDC.
Mm-hmm.
I have other centers that I deal with, so I couldn't tell you the exact time because I can't tell you the specific of the first time they contacted me. Hundreds of employee issues for different centers.
Okay. Okay, so these emails, for example, we can go to a specific page. Let's say page 34.
Okay, let me go to 34.
34.
34, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 27. It's just reloading again. What is it doing? Okay.
If you're on page 34, and you scroll down, there is an email that you sent to Mr. Chen, and Mr. Goodson, and Mrs. Kanisha Barnes.
Yes.
So it's dated July 24th, 2020.
Yeah.
It says, I'm not sure what the outcome of this was.
I'm going to object. I haven't heard a single question yet.
I think she's working up to a Mr. Upshur. Miss Isbeghi, I'm sorry, I just mispronounced your name. Isbeghi, are you on the page that you're being directed to?
So on page 34, yes.
Okay, so Ms. Kouemo, what's your question?
Okay, so my question is, here in this email, you say that you're asking the managers whether they decide to warn me and not charge me with AWOL. And then you say that on termination, they won't discuss my non-performance with me. You cannot tell from documentation that you have more. My question is, based on this email, can you recall whether what was the beginning of this conversation with management?
I cannot recall the beginning of the conversation. Like I said, my role is strictly advisory. And so if they reach out to me and they say, this is the employee issues that we have, it's like, if you look at this email, I'm saying, what was the outcome? What did you guys decide to do with it? Our advisement, and the decision they make is strictly the managers.
Okay, so if you cannot recall, if we move up a little bit, it says that I informed Felicia we were hoping on termination for now. I don't know if it's okay for me to read, but it seems that you were informed that they were planning to terminate me, and then you were informed that they were holding off on termination. So can you explain to us what the process of termination will be generally based on the information that you have right now? One in front of you, meaning since they were talking about AWOL, and in this it's about it seems to be it seems that there were discussions about my performance and things like that. Can you explain to us what the process is if managers want to terminate somebody?
The managers have, if they want to terminate, they have to look at a lot of things. What I do is what they present to me. I would advise them based on what they have presented to me. What they look at to decide they are going to terminate, I don't make that decision. I don't know what they look at. The only thing I review are what are presented to me and saying, okay, if obviously if you look at that, it said employee performance. So if you're saying you are terminating on performance, I'm going to ask you questions about how have you addressed this non-performance. But how they come to a decision on when to terminate or on what basis, that's their decision. I have no part in that. When they pull the paperwork together and send it to me, then I can review it and give them an advisement.
Yeah. Can you tell from the emails in this document or in this chain what documents they sent you to review to decide on whether to terminate me or not?
Your Honor, I don't think at this point we have any relevance. The appellant wasn't terminated, and I don't think that's a basis for this hearing.
Ms. Kouemo, where do you see the relevance of this?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Judge. I see the relevance in the fact that happened. If you look at the emails, July 24th, right around the time that I was given the AWOL determinations on the 20th and the 21st on the time, and I was doing that that time I was actually appealing the AWOL determinations with those managers. So I believe that it's relevant as to the manager's posture in reviewing my AWOL determinations, and also in the fact that me being assigned to a data entry team for 5 weeks, that what I'm saying is that they want to force me out, and that has something to do with the fact that I involuntarily resigned in August. Meaning that even though they could not find a credible reason to terminate me, they put me on the data entry team and gave me AWOL to sort of try and create documentation or create situations that would justify their terminating, and that has something to do with my involuntary resignation.
Okay, I see where you're going with it, Ms. Kouemo. I think it's kind of a circuitous route to get there. I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway, but if you could just try to ask targeted questions to this witness and keep it moving, I would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. If you go to page 34, it says, I inform Felicia we were holding on termination for now. Please make sure we consult employee on performance. I would like to speak as to what type of performance or non-performance would justify a termination, please, Mrs. Isabighi.
That's a determination the managers make, because when employees start, they give them expectations, and so they are going to compare their performance against the expectations. I don't make a determination of what the expectations are of the basis for the being terminated for non-performance. What I'm going to review is, did the employee know they were not performing or meeting expectations? That's all I'm reviewing.
Okay.
The managers make that determination.
I see. Thank you very much. Okay. And as far as counseling, what is the requirement that the HR department has on the manager's notification for performance? Meaning that in what form does HR make sure that managers notify the applicant about notify the employee about his or her non-performance?
What we employer just will look for is, if you say you are terminating an employee on non-performance, then you should have had conversation with that employee. They should not be a surprise. They should know that they were not performing.
And do those conversations, do they have to be in a certain form, meaning that will managers have to have taken notes about their verbal communications with an employee, or does it have to come in the form of a letter or something like that?
As long as they have a conversation and they can certify the conversation, there is not a specific way that it has to be done. It could be communication, it could be email. There has to just be a communication that the employee knows they are not performing.
Okay. And those communications, is there a specific number or a specific time frame that this has to be going on before termination is okayed by your department?
Not that I'm aware of that there has to be a specific number.
If you look at page 30, your email says, I'm not sure what the outcome of this was. Did you decide to warn her and not charge her AWOL? Does that mean that you were approached regarding AWOL determinations? Is that something that is fairly that can be induced from this email?
The email is just a question. What did you decide to do? Did you charge her or did you decide to warn her? That's all the email is. Because, like I said, my role is strictly advisory. Once I've advised them, the manager make the decision. So I follow up on occasions to find out what was the decision to make.
And the AWOL determinations, would they have something to do, would they be something that's relevant to an employee being terminated?
AWOL on its own is not a disciplinary action. It could be grounds for disciplinary action depending on how many hours an employee accumulates.
Okay. Would an employee that accumulates 4 hours in a short amount of time, saying a couple of weeks or a month, would that be something that could potentially lead to termination?
I cannot say that because every case is different. You have to look at it. There is not a written rule on how many, how little, how much. You have to look at each circumstance. You have to look at each case on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to ask you about, let's go to tab number 23, please.
Just give me a minute to go back up. 23?
Yes, please.
I have 23. No.
23, page 212.
Page
212, 212.
Okay.
Were you able to get there?
I'm still scrolling down to get there. I'll let you know.
Thank you. You know, you can go up to the left where it says
Just tap
square. Yes, you can put in the page number there and just type enter. Tap enter and you should get to the
page faster.
Are you there?
I'll let you know as soon as I get there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. For page 212 and 213, that's a letter of counseling dated July 27, 2020.
She hasn't asked her question yet, Mr. Upshur. Let her finish her question and then you can object.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please proceed, Ms. Kouemo.
Thank you, Judge. Mrs. Isobigi, can you read quickly through the letter and let me know whether you remember seeing that letter or whether it looks familiar to you?
This is a standard letter of counseling that employees receive. So I don't recall this specifically, but that is a standard letter of counseling.
And who have drafted that letter? I mean, yeah, I see Mrs. Rivera and Mr. Christopher Martin's names at the bottom. But is it within the purview? Is it within the responsibility of the supervisors to draft this letter, or do they draft this letter with the assistance of HR?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this question also, not only on the basis of relevance, but the witness has already stated that she doesn't recognize a specific letter.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see the relevance of this letter, Ms. Kouemo. I'm going to let the witness answer this particular question just to see if is there a standard as to who would draft this type of letter?
The managers could draft it and have it reviewed by the ER.
Okay, thank you. But you don't remember for this specific letter?
Specifically, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Kouemo.
Thank you very much, Judge. And Mrs. Izabidi, normally would that letter have to be provided to the employee in order to be effective or to be valid or to go into the record?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes. Would this letter, as it's drafted, is it mandatory? Is it part of the procedures at the PDC that this letter has to be provided to the employee in order for it to go on the record?
Yes, the employee has to know about this letter. Though it doesn't really go on the record, it's not a disciplinary letter. It's just the employee keeps it in their folder, but they will cover it. Normally, they will cover it to the employee to say we're giving you a letter of counseling if it is given. Yes.
And did you say that you will go into a folder? What folder would that be?
The employee, the managers, they have whatever, it's like you can create your own folder either online, that's for each employee, but that's about it. Nobody else has access to it. It's not part of a disciplinary record. It doesn't go, really anywhere. It's just putting the employee on notice.
Okay, but that letter will become helpful if later on managers wanted to terminate somebody. Is that correct?
Objection, leading, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, I can rephrase Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kouemo.
How would that letter become helpful to the managers?
Objection, relevant, Your Honor.
Overruled. You can answer, ma'am.
It just gives a notice to the employee. In other words, if the employee does something else, the employee already knows what is acceptable and is not acceptable, and that would be part of the consideration for the higher level of discipline.
Okay. So would that be a letter that is signed by the employee acknowledging receipt? That would be that you will seek to receive from managers, maybe seeking to terminate somebody, to confirm that they have had counseling with the person?
The counseling letter, we will ask for any documents you have if you have talked to this employee. But a counseling letter usually is not, but it's not a disciplinary action. It's just saying they could have had the same thing as a verbal conversation without putting it in writing. So it's just proof for them, for the managers, that yes, I have put this employee on notice before.
Have you ever had, in your years of working as HR, have you ever had managers reach out to you and tell you, for example, that they've given 4 payrolls to somebody in a 2 weeks period?
Probably, I can't tell you specifically. Depending on A1 is where you don't call in when you are supposed to, within 2 hours of your shift. So the man give AWOL. So if they have an employee, for example, that even if it's within a week, you're supposed to report at 7 and you're not reporting at 7, you can call in before your start time, 2 hours to your start time. They can give AWOL.
Thank you, Mrs. Izobigi. I was asking whether you've already, in your years as HR, in HR at the SBA, whether you've had instances where managers have reached out to you regarding a crisis at work or potentially looking into terminating someone, where they had charged somebody AWOL 4 or more times in a 2 weeks period, meaning like that amount of AWOLs in a short time period. Is that something that you see often?
It's not impossible. I deal with so many that I can't tell you. I can't remember how many I deal with on a weekly basis, and from different centers, different managers. I don't support just PDC, so some might even get, some we don't always get. So they can charge if the employee is not following procedure.
Thank you. I understand that. I'm just going to move on. So my next question is regarding I wanted to know whether your department, HR department in general, I know you work in employment relations, but does that also include like post-employment, any type of post-employment relations or things like that, or would you be able to speak as to those? Basically, what happens when the person leaves?
For the employee relations, what we do, we give the employees their rights. We make sure they know what their next steps are regarding an adverse action. That's what we do with them. Then we usually will give them, there's an OD, there is a pamphlet that we give them that has information, it has addresses, it has phone numbers that they can use. We just make sure they get their rights, and they know their rights when they're leaving.
Okay, thank you. The emails, that information, does that include any type of post-employment restrictions?
There is the ODA, avenues of redress, we call it, that we give to you. And unless it's a termination, there is also that we generally give is rules for the road, that's it. But it has to be when it's a termination.
Okay. So can you go into document number 23, please?
Okay.
I'm sorry, yes, I think it's tab number 23. Are we there always?
Tab 23?
Yes, 23, 23. And then page, let's go to page 1. Oh, we're already in page 23. Let's go to page 139, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, 139.
Yes. It says SBA information notice. Is that where you are also?
No, not quite. Is it the seeking now employment with SBA?
Yes, at the top it says SBA information notice. Yes.
Rules for the
Is
road.
that what you are? Yes. Is that a document you were talking about earlier when you said that you sent it to termination to people that have been okay. Do you send it to anybody that has not been terminated?
We don't send it directly. The managers will give it to you, and that's the managers that does that. But I know that's part of the document that goes out.
So it's the manager's decision as to whether to send it to somebody.
Correct.
So if the letter came from somebody in HR, does that mean that the managers requested that it be sent to that person?
What letter?
If that notice was emailed to somebody by an HR person, does that mean that does that still mean that that person's managers had something to do with the person receiving that that notice?
Okay, I don't get the question.
Yes. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to try and rephrase it. You say that the managers are the ones that decide whether to give that notice in cases where there is a termination. My question is, even if the notice was actually sent to the employee by somebody in the HR department, does that mean that the employees managers requested that the letter be sent?
I can't answer that question because I don't know. We normally don't send any letters of termination to employees because we don't make that decision.
Okay.
And if employee reaches back to us and they need information, then we can send them information.
Okay. Okay.
When the letters are going out, we never ER do not send termination letters to anyone because that's not our decision to make.
Okay. Thank you very much. I believe I have one more question on this document. Okay. If you go to page 237, please, of the same document.
227?
237, 237.
237, okay.
Can you repeat that for me, please? I apologize.
Yes, I'm sorry. 237. 237.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you, if you look at this, it's an email that's basically my resignation email because I resigned in August 2022. And if you look at that email, I would like to ask you whether HR will be responsible for providing somebody with a copy of their commitment plan or commitment rating, things like that after they've departed from the agency.
That would be ODP, Office of Personnel. ER would not handle any. Once you resign or you're terminated, if it's not an adverse action, ER is not employee relations. Is not involved in any of those.
Okay. And to your knowledge, was okay, I don't have. I think I'm just going to ask you one more question, please. Is it within the purview of the HR department to review somebody's file before promotion, or is it within the purview of the personnel department?
The promotions, if there is a promotion, there's usually is a vacancy announcement that is done, and then everyone goes through the process. Except I don't know much about the hiring and any of that because I do not handle those things.
Thank you. I actually meant like something like team lead promotions or grade increase, like somebody going DS9 to DS11.
That's ODP. It's Office of Personnel that does all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not do anything with that.
I think I'm done asking questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Kouemo. All right, Mr. Upshur.
Yes, Your Honor. In 2020, about how many employees were responsible for providing support for it?
I think PDC alone had about 4,000, and that also supported the, I was going to get FOC West, the Feed Operations West, which is in Sacramento. We have the Feed Operations East, which is in Atlanta. And we also have the Customer Service Center in Buffalo, New York. So the total maybe 6,000 or more. So
6,000. And did you ever directly supervise Ms. Kouemo?
I do not know.
Did you ever indirectly supervise Ms. Kouemo?
No.
Did you ever make any management decisions regarding Ms. Kouemo, such as attendance?
No.
Regarding discipline?
No.
And regarding her AWOL designation, did you ever make any decisions regarding her AWOL designations?
No.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge regarding Ms. Kouemo's disclosing SBA rule changes to minority applicants and recommending solutions for them to obtain loans in or around June 2020?
No.
Do you now, or did you ever have any knowledge regarding Ms. Kouemo disclosing to her team lead, Jessica McCall, and her supervisor, Christopher Martin, a belief that requiring loan applicants to complete an outdated IRS form and submit it by email posed a risk of a breach of personally identifiable information?
No.
Okay. Did you ever have any knowledge, or do you now have any knowledge regarding Ms. Kouemo's supervisor contacting her while she was on sick leave in or around June 24th, 2020?
I don't recall if it was not in the email. I don't recall if they said not before it was done. If that was part of the paperwork, I can't recall. But calling me to say they are going to reach out to her now.
Okay. And just a few questions from your prior testimony. For attendance, is it possible for attendance at some point to lead to termination if someone's attendance is poor enough?
It could. I'm not aware of terminating someone strictly. Let me put it this way. It could, because if you are not there to do the job still has to be done. So it could, but it could if is a lot of in attendance, so you're never at work.
Okay. Can there be I know during your previous testimony you guys were talking about a letter of counseling. Is it possible for counseling to be given without a letter?
Yes.
Can counseling be given verbally?
Verbally, yes.
And are all counselings going to always have a recording in a file?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then also, I just wanted to also check for the rules of the road, the form that you guys were looking at earlier during your testimony. And you said that those are given for people that are terminated?
No, for people that are terminated, we usually recommend that they are given. But if people are resigning, I am not aware that they are giving that.
Okay. All right. Do you handle resignations in your job position?
No.
Okay. And to that same vein, do you have any knowledge regarding Ms. Kouemo's August 15th, 2020 resignation?
No, that she was resigning now. That's
Okay.
Office of Personnel.
Do you have any reason? Do you know why she resigned, or have any background or information about why she resigned?
No.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge regarding the agency refusing to provide Ms. Kouemo a copy of the performance plan or evaluation in August 2020?
No.
Do you have any knowledge regarding the agency imposing restrictive non-disclosure agreements on appellant in August 2020 that were more restrictive than anyone else in the agency?
No.
Do you have any knowledge regarding Ms. Erica Rivera reassigning Ms. Kouemo to a simplistic data entry task?
No.
And can you remind me, do you handle employee assignments?
No. Have nothing to do with employee assignments at all.
And are you aware that Ms. Kouemo was charged with AWOL in around July and August of 2020?
There was discussion about charging her AWOL, and you see the email that she was saying. I was asking what was the outcome. The decision of whether it's AWOL or not is manager's decision.
Okay. Did you speak with Ms. Kouemo around that time regarding her AWOL designations?
No, I had a communication with her, and she had asked specifically what AWOL was. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was via email or we had a phone call, but we had a communication about AWOL.
And you said that she had asked. She asked what AWOL was?
Yeah, she asked about AWOL, and I told her it wasn't a disciplinary action, but it could be grounds for disciplinary action.
Okay, but AWOL itself is not a disciplinary action, is that right?
Right.
And to your knowledge, did she ever receive any disciplinary actions in regards to her AWOL designations?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And based on your knowledge and experience, were Ms. Kouemo's AWOL designations legal and appropriate?
I would say yes, if she got one.
And Your Honor, I have no more questions at this time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Kouemo, do you have redirect?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Isabel, I'm going to start with the last question. Did you say that you believe that the AWOL designations were appropriate? I just want to make sure I understood it correctly.
Yes, if they are following the rules, if you didn't call in 2 hours before your schedule, the managers have the discretion to charge you.
Are you aware of the circumstances surrounding the AWOL determination that is received?
The managers make a determination based on individual basis, case by case. If you do not call in 2 hours before your schedule, the managers can charge AWOL. And then if you have circumstances, they will review those on a case by case basis.
Are you aware of the fact that I received 4 AWOLs in July? I received 4 AWOLs in July 2020. Are you aware of the circumstances surrounding each one of those AWOL determinations?
That's the manager's decision to make now.
Do you recall what
they have?
Sorry for interrupting you. Do you recall what the circumstances surrounding each one of those 4 AWOL determinations was for me specifically?
No.
So would it be appropriate, would it be correct to say that you cannot determine whether those determinations were appropriate at this point if you don't remember exactly what they were based on?
Yeah. Mine is actually based on my experience. It is if you have 2 hours, you don't call into your job 2 hours before your start time, the managers can charge AWOL, and that would be appropriate. They can look at the individual cases and say, okay, because you did this, I'm going to let it go. But if they don't want to listen, if it is 2 hours late and you haven't called 2 hours before your scheduled time, the managers can charge you.
Thank you for clarifying that. What if somebody was 5 minutes late from lunch, after lunch? Would that be sufficient enough to charge them with AWOL in your experience?
I don't make those decisions. That's a manager's decision.
Okay. Regarding, you said also that you were not aware of anybody being terminated strictly because of attendance issues. What other factors besides attendance will go into your assessment of whether it will be appropriate to terminate that person?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, we're not talking about termination here. Also, the witness has stated multiple times that she doesn't make determinations. Management does make determinations. She only advises.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain that.
What type of proof that somebody has been cancelled would you request from management, or would you require to receive from managers before telling them whether a termination was approved by HR or something like that? Is that a better question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry. Did you complete the question? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, what I was asking is a biggie, is whether what documents did she request, because she said that department in employment relations managers contacted her to review the case against anybody that they wanted to terminate. And my question is, what type of documentation would she need to see from managers before being able to give them the okay to terminate somebody?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that because we're still not talking about termination in this hearing.
Sustained.
Okay. What type of documentation, Mrs. Isabigi, would you request to see from managers as far as the letter of counseling that we talked about earlier? Besides that letter, what other documentation or what other proofs would you request from managers in order to okay any disciplinary action or based on attendance or performance or both?
It's going to depend on the disciplinary action. The letter of counseling, you don't need a letter of counseling. If the employee is not sitting at their desk when they are supposed to be there, you can do a letter of counseling. So as the disciplinary process progresses at a disciplinary level, then you require more to sustain it.
What type of documentation based on your review of the documents that we've looked at regarding your email exchanges with my managers, what type of documentation would you have requested to see in order to approve any disciplinary actions based on the facts that you have right now?
Your Honor, I am going to object. I don't know what disciplinary actions we're talking about, but I don't know that any actual disciplinary actions are even alleged here in this matter, Your Honor.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to sustain that. I think it's speculative, Ms. Kouemo.
Okay. Mrs. Isabigi, within your department, when you started working as a HR specialist, I believe you said in 2013, did you always work in the employment relations department?
Excuse me, yes.
Have you ever worked in coordination with other departments within HR?
In coordination with them, yes.
Okay. Are you aware of their processes, the other the processes within the HR department outside of your specific outside of employment relations specifically?
I may know of some of them, but I don't know what they do because I do not do it.
Okay. Are you aware of anybody that separated from the agency? In your general knowledge, since 2017, has there been people that separated from the agency and did not receive the notice that we saw earlier? What was the title again? I think Rules for the Road, something like that.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to relevance, especially for the time frame that we're speaking about, and for the actual document, as well as for the fact that the witness has already testified that she doesn't handle sending out all those notices to all of these separated employees.
Okay, I would actually respond.
Okay, yeah, hold on, Ms. Kouemo. If we could have the witness, if you would please just turn to that document, which is at tab 23, page 139, just to make sure we're all referring to the same thing.
That was Rules for the Road.
Yes, ma'am. Let me know when you're there, Mrs. SBA.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Telling me. $139 or 137?
139.
Okay, I'm there, Judge.
Okay, and I see on this document, on its face, it indicates the effective date is June 21st, 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I think if we could limit Ms. Kouemo's question, she was asking about individuals who have separated. I'd like to limit it to after that date, June 21st, 2017. And her question was, are you aware of any individuals who separated after that date who did not receive this notice? I'm going to overrule your objection, Mr. Upshur, and you can answer that question if you know the answer, ma'am.
Judge, I wouldn't know the answer because I do not send out that information. That information, this Rules for the Road, it's sent out by the supervisor or the manager. It's not the HR that sends them out. So I can't tell who got it or who did not.
Okay, so it's your understanding that this information is generally sent out by supervisors or managers to the separated employees?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there circumstances where human resources sends out this information to a separated employee?
I'm not aware of any.
Is it your understanding, does the information in this notice apply to all employees, whether or not they're specifically sent the notice? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Kouemo, if you can continue.
Thank you, Judge. Mrs. Isabigi, have you ever sent out, have you ever, in your communications with people that have separated from the agency, have you ever encountered somebody that, have you ever known of anybody that did not receive this letter at all? Basically, I'm going to try and rephrase that information, that question. This letter contains on page, if we scroll down to page, I'm looking for the post-employment restrictions specifically.
Is this still about the rules for the road? Or?
Yes, same document. We're going to scroll down to okay. We're going to scroll down to page 144.
Okay.
At the bottom, it says that a recipient of SBA assistance may not have a former SBA employee as its employee, partner, agent. You can read that paragraph. Are you familiar with that section? Are you familiar?
No, I didn't draft these rules for the road, so no.
Okay. Are you generally aware of that information? Basically, certain SBA employees not being able to be employed by people that have received SBA assistance. Were you aware of that restriction?
No.
Specific? Okay. All right. I think that ends. That concludes my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Mr. Upshur, did you have any recross?
Briefly, Your Honor. During your testimony, you were speaking about circumstances regarding not upholding AWOL. Is that right?
Not upholding AWOL.
Mm-hmm. Maybe like I believe it was maybe like excuses or something, so that managers circumstances. If an employee came into work late without prior approval for their absence, and the reason for their lateness was to apply to other jobs outside of their current organization, would that be a reason for management to necessarily have to overturn an AWOL designation?
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
All right, I do appreciate your testimony here this afternoon. Please don't discuss your testimony with anyone who is not now present until this hearing is concluded, which will be sometime tomorrow. You're released and you may exit the meeting. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's go off the record.